CFL betting blueprint, guys. Welcome in. It's playoff time in the CFL. Andrew McInnis, Bobby Dubeau with you. We have been here all season long, from the start to the last regular season game. Some of you guys might have got distracted with college football, with NFL, with different sports popping up. We did not. We followed the league through and through the entirety of this season. But this is where people's attention starts to shift back to the CFL because the playoffs are always exciting in the Canadian Football League. We've got two matchups to get to. And I got to say, Bobby, I love when the crossover takes place. And the crossover is in full effect here. We have the Blue Bombers playing in the East semifinal. Blue Bombers taking on the Montreal Alouettes. And we have the Calgary Stampeders taking on the BC Lions. So looking forward to breaking down these games. But Bobby, the regular season is in the past. Here come the playoffs. How are you?
Good. And yeah, another West crossover. And honestly, it was destined to happen once they started doing more balanced schedule. When you get to play Ottawa every three times every year, every team in the East, then you're automatically going to get some wins, right? So every team played each other twice and a couple extra bonus games against Ottawa. I think for Montreal, maybe it was one of them, but more balanced schedule means the better teams are going to make the playoffs, even with a ridiculous crossover rule where you can't even have the same record. You need to have a better record. Just another reason for one division, and we can maybe even contract a team too, the Red Blacks.
Well, you know what's funny? You say that about the Red Blacks, but also looking at the Elks as well. Like when I was looking at some stats on Football DB or different websites for the CFL, trying to figure out how I feel about certain teams and how I feel about these matchups in the postseason here that we have. You kind of have to put an X through any matchups that featured the Elks or the Red Blacks. Maybe not as much the Elks, but especially those Red Blacks. So I said it all year long on the show, even though it is a small league, there's still some spots where you're like, I don't really care about that win for this team. Not very impressed by that win from this team. But let's jump into it. Without further ado, the opening game we will have Winnipeg and Montreal. This will be Saturday afternoon, November 1st, 49.5 being the total. 4.5 was the opening number. We are now seeing a 6 as this number. And Bobby, I'll throw it to you with this. Has Montreal become everyone's darling? Has Montreal become everyone's team of choice with the unbelievable record of Davis Alexander? And I'm going to just say this. How many times have we seen the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in playoff games or in Grey Cups where they were probably favored by too many points and you could take advantage of an underdog? And now we catch them taking on an East opponent in the crossover, and they're maybe catching points that we can take advantage of. Are you on the same page as me? I mean, this seems like a complete role reversal here.
Yeah, for sure. But you have to think like the Bombers squeaked out 2 wins against, like, I don't even know if it's Jake or Jack Cohn and MBT, who's basically been torching us all season anytime we've been back in the Alouettes, right? So nothing really to brag about there. Prior to that, they lost to an Elks team that's still terrible, even with Cody Fajardo behind center. And we went through this last week, I think. The games before that were against the Ticats, who are completely overrated, and a Red Blacks team that isn't a real football team, right? So there's a reason they're getting a lot of points. It seems like a lot of points for a Blue team that we've liked to back, but they've got Nick Dempsey on the sidelines right now too. Dalton Schoen already out. Who are they going to throw to? Like Wheatfall can only take on so much, right? So their defense looks good, is what people will tell you. But again, and anybody will look good against a 3rd or 4th string Riders quarterback, an MBT that's playing like a 4th stringer. I don't know. It's been a pretty soft schedule for them, and they've kind of squeaked by teams that had nothing to play for. Right. And like we've been high on Montreal all season. Like I backed them 14 times myself, like personally. And if it wasn't for MBT being on that team, probably would have been a pretty successful year backing them. But like this number, like you said, it opened like 4.5 with juice. Is it up to 6 now? Like it's only going one direction. And if you like the Alouettes, it's probably too late. Maybe you want to do a money line parlay. I wouldn't tease these two games just because BC is going to go through like a zero. Um, but I think that's the only way you want to play the Alouettes. Obviously, it's fun to play the Alouettes. They're the better team. There's a lot to like about them. But I don't really have any interest in them at this number. I'm probably going to be on the Bombers if this line keeps growing. Nothing to like about the Bombers, like I just outlined, but we're not betting the Bombers, we're betting the number. So yeah, like I got nothing on either game right now, but it looks like I will be forced into backing some dogs this week if it keeps going like it's going.
Yeah, we're betting numbers, not teams. Not teams, not numbers. We're doing it the proper way here on this show. But look, I mean, the way you're talking about this Bombers team, though, I think that it's probably appropriate for us to bring up history, right? Was it 4 of the last 5 Grey Cup appearances? I think that, like, how much do you care about that? I know we're talking about the numbers here, but the experience level in the playoffs has to be a part of this handicap here. Davis Alexander, you can't stop hearing casuals talking about him. And then as a Montreal Canadiens fan, I follow a bunch of other people that are Habs fans. And so, of course, a lot of those Habs fans are Alouettes fans, and they can't stop talking about Davis Alexander being the best thing since sliced bread. And when's the last time we saw him put in a situation like this against an experienced team like the Bombers? Like you said, the Blue Bombers have taken advantage of some situations that are certainly favorable. But 2 questions for you. How do you feel about the experience factor in this one? And what about the head-to-head this season between these two teams? I'm taking a look at it. Certain situations maybe, like you said, helped out the Blue Bombers, but they did pretty well in the 2 head-to-head matchups this season.
Yeah, I would think experience would matter. Well, I guess it would have already mattered because I've been thinking it would matter next week against Hamilton, a team that's clearly overrated. Montreal is kind of in this second seed because Jason Moss wanted to win a useless game and drove Alexander into the ground, right? Alexander, he's like I don't know if you remember, like Patrick Lalime. I think he started like with a huge undefeated season with the Penguins when he first came up. This is kind of the same thing, and honestly, for the record that he has, I don't think he's getting enough hype really. Included in those wins, or not included in those wins, is the game where he replaced Caleb Evans and won that game too. So the way the CFL grades stats, obviously there's a reason you use football DB as I do. You can only read so much into the CFL stats because they're ridiculous. There's ridiculous logic behind them. 1 and 2, you can never believe them either. But I'm not sure, like the experience, like when you think that would matter when they're playing a must-win game against a third stringer quarterback with the Riders, and didn't they win by 1 point? Like,
Yes, that's true.
I think they've had their chance. Like we were quick to jump off the train.
That might be shame on us though.
Well, we were quick to like not jump off last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, but we knew to keep backing them last year. The record didn't reflect how good they were. Whereas this year, like they've looked bad. Like they've looked really bad in some games here. And last year they were losing games because of bounces or stuff that like big performances from the other team. This year they're losing games because they're just not good enough. They're kind of been worn out. I don't know. Caleros isn't really done, but he's back to like that middle of the pack quarterback in the CFL. I guess they've got experience, but like I don't know how much experience is on that offense, and that's the thing that you need to have if you're going to be going up against the Owls, who shouldn't have a problem putting up points even with this Bombers defense that has been performing well against some backups and who knows, practice squad players for the last few weeks.
I do think that Winnipeg is going to want to run the ball and try and maintain the clock and possess the ball, but I'm inclined to bet this over a little bit here. Looking at Winnipeg, they started the season off on an over note. This is a team that was their ATS records were about even, but their over-under records were dominant towards the over. And if you look at the reason being why it was that way, it was because their defense. It wasn't because of their offense by any means. Now, in years past, whenever they have gone over the total, a lot of times it was because they put up a ton of points on a team and the total squeaked over in that fact. And as you'll often remind us, when you play a team like the Red Blacks, sometimes your stats can look pretty good, whether it's offensively for you or defensively for you, depending on which way you're looking at it. But the Red Blacks and the Argos were actually the last place in the league, the two worst teams in points allowed per game. So when you think about a team like Montreal playing in a division with those teams, makes them look pretty good. But I do think this Montreal defense is susceptible for giving up points as well, especially against the experienced Winnipeg team that is relatively healthy right now. So I am kind of interested in the over 49.5 in this one. One thing to mention as well, as far as where's my number here with this one? Rushing yards per game. Now, this is a kind of one of those ones. You got a Winnipeg that was the third best team in rushing yards allowed per game, but Montreal was middle of the pack, if not bottom echelon. So I am curious to see, because you know how a lot of times like people will correlate running games to the under. Like I hear a lot of people in NFL breakdown saying, okay, this game's they're gonna run the ball, they're gonna run the clock out, it's gonna be an under. With Winnipeg, when their run game is going, it actually helps out the over from where I'm sitting because they can just pick up yards so fast. So I kind of lean towards the over in this one. And I feel like what's nice about the over is even though I do lean towards the Winnipeg side, if I can get 6.5, you guys can probably mark me in on Winnipeg. But I kind of feel like the over is me saying, hey, look, I've got faith in Winnipeg's offense to put some points up on Montreal. But there's no doubt in my mind that Montreal is going to contribute to this party as well. So I feel like typically you hear people say like underdog and under and favorite and over kind of correlate. But I think that for this one, I know Montreal is going to get their points, Bobby. It's all about how much we can see the Winnipeg Blue Bombers contribute offensively. Is that fair to say? Or if I told you Winnipeg hung around and only lost by 3, would you think it would have to be a low-scoring game? Or do you agree with me? I mean, this spread all has to do with the number that Winnipeg can post.
Yeah, I think the over is. Yeah, you mentioned it already. The difference this year is you don't have the Winnipeg who's shutting down teams, right? You have the other team that can kind of contribute to this over. And you're right, like the running game in the CFL, it doesn't really slow down the game as much as it does in the NFL, right? Because you got the clock stopped after every play before they replace the ball. And that brings up another thing. We mentioned why Davis Alexander was injured. Well, now the 2 starting D linemen for the Alouettes are injured too, because they were playing in that mean nothing game last week. So, if there's anything that favors Winnipeg here, it's the running game. And like Oliveira's put up some huge numbers, but if you listen to anybody in Winnipeg, any of the media and the fans, they're saying he's not being used enough, and that's kind of scary to think. Like considering how good he's been so far this year. It's probably like they're going to be their focus, especially with a weaker Montreal D line. But like honestly, you're just looking for them to hang around within 1 score, and we saw last week. It wasn't until like the 6th interception thrown by Ottawa where they finally were out of the game. They finally weren't coming back. So like it's hard to get separation in a CFL game, and I don't think the Bombers are ever going to be written out of a game until you get to the Grey Cup and when it's over at halftime.
Yeah, that team is pretty good at getting to the Grey Cup. We'll just see how they do once they get there, typically, is what we've seen from them. Guys, if you like this video, if you enjoy the CFL content, if you want this show to return next year, hit the like button, comment below on YouTube, or if you're watching on X, let us know you appreciated the CFL bets all season long. And I'm actually going to be able to potentially watch some CFL next weekend in person with Bobby, which should be fun. So we better be on the same page. We better be on the same bet. So we're going to find out what Bobby likes early on next week. And we'll be watching some games together, which is kind of nice. It'll be the conference finals, which would be super exciting to get to. All right, let's take a look at Stamps at Lions in this one. Taking a look at last 2 meetings here, we got 52-23 Lions, 38-24 Lions. This team has done very well against the Stampeders. Particularly, they've done well in the passing game. And, I just love storylines in sports, right? Like BC gets rid of their QB, in comes Nate Rourke. They give their QB to Calgary. I got to bring it up. You can't blame me. I got to bring it up. But at the end of the day, that if one team has a great passing attack and the other team has a great passing attack, I'm going to take the weapons that the BC Lions have over the weapons that the Calgary Stampeders have. One thing I find a little bit weird about this line, this game, is that not every book has moved yet. We've seen some move, but not every book, as Pinnacle is still holding a 4.5, Circa is still holding a 4.5, South Point is at 5, and then of course you've got your DraftKings that says screw you all, I'm going to be posting a 6 as far as this game is concerned. But for me, looking at this game, the biggest difference when I looked at it was passing yards per game. The Calgary Stampeders were dead last if you don't count the Elks. So they were second worst in the league as far as passing yards allowed per game, giving up 270 yards through the air per game. If you let Nate Rourke cook, he's going to make you pay. And essentially, this isn't really the game that's ever really hurt the BC Lions in the playoffs. You're the season ticket holder. It's always been the conference final game. Now, if things work out well and they win this week, it's going to be a big game for them against Saskatchewan next weekend. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. It's been a real great story for the Stampeders. It's also been a great story for you and I getting them 30-1 somehow. It doesn't make any sense really in this league to get a team like that. But I think it comes to an end. I think BC has kind of rounded into form. And it's not often I say this in a postseason game, but I just think the offense is simply too much. Whatever Calgary can bring offensively as well, I don't think they can match what this BC Lions team does. Do you feel like this number can get some buyback at all? If people wanted the 4.5, did they miss it? What do you think here in this one?
Yeah, like obviously BC is the better team here. No Butler, no McInnis at the last practice. It's not really a concern. The coach said they were just getting rested because they were in that last must-win game last weekend. But Gary Peters and TJ Lee in the secondary could be a concern too. They seem to actually be a little bit banged up. Peters has been banged up all year, which is like impressive that he's made it this far through the season. I don't know. Like, trying to find something bad to say about the Lions, right? Like everybody's buying into the hype. 6 weeks ago, they were the worst team in the league, if you believe the same people. These people are saying now they're the best. What did they do last week? What did this supposed best team in the league do last week? Like they squeaked by the Riders. Second half comeback once they put in all their backups, right? But then, like you mentioned, the last two games against the Stamps, like do you want to back a Stampeders team that's been shit kicked by them? Even with VA was out one game, but he got injured when it was already 21-0. I think he threw 2 interceptions and got hurt, right? So Lions got plenty of bounces in those games, but like obviously there's something to be said for like a pattern of domination. You've seen it with the Lions and Edmonton. Maybe it's because Trey Ford was quarterback, but still, like they have something on the Elks. They seem to have something on the Stamps. And the other team would be like Montreal always seems to have something against Ottawa. But like eventually, like I don't think you're going to see a 4.5 anymore. This line's going to only go up higher. Eventually, it's going to be too many points where I'm going to have to step in, I guess. The Stamps D was great earlier in the year. I was surprised when you told me those passing stats, just because like they were so like they were the reason they were winning the games to start the year. Completely new defense that performed way over expectations. But injuries started to get to them. Secondary is getting healthier. I don't know. It's been all line support though on this, right? Like this open just over 4.25 maybe. Even at these, like every book seems to be 5.5 now. You've got the squares, the total squares saying, "Oh, it should open up at 8" after it was already open. It's not going to get to 8. Like I'll guarantee that because there hasn't been any serious money. This has just been trickling up. Maybe some people jumping in early, but the limits are low earlier in the week. If it gets to 7, I'll be on. I'll be on Calgary. I'm happy to take a touchdown with VA. will know what they're doing. Will be taking the 7. So I think if you like the Lions, sure, go for it. I might actually have to do a little money line parlay myself here because you reminded me about that 30-1 Stamps. I also have Winnipeg anywhere from like 13 to 18-1. So if I'm going to lose both those futures, hopefully I can pick up a quick lame FanDuel moneyline parlay, moneyline favorites, right? That's what they want us to be doing. So hopefully that's something that's probably the only thing I'll be doing right now until this line gets to 7. But yeah, the 4.5 is gone.
Yeah, it's gone and probably not coming back. I'll tell you what, though, I think the team total is where I'll be going in this one. We'll see what ends up. The only problem that pisses me off with team totals is that at majority of books, it takes longer for them to trickle in. So obviously, if team totals were available when the 4.5 was there, I would be getting a better number with the team total. But to your point, like if this number gets a little bit higher, I most certainly would rather just have a team total. Hey, BC, get me to this number. That's all I care about. Don't worry about a spread. That's kind of what I'd be asking. It wouldn't really be as much about covering a point spread, just more so, hey, look, Nate, let's go see what your offense can do for us and get the job done with that. So we'll keep you guys posted.
Was that 30 points right now?
Yeah, I've seen 30.5, 31. It depends really where you're looking, but I'm still seeing them pop up, which can be a little bit frustrating, to be honest. But that's the CFL for you. The market, they've been sponsored officially by 5 different companies in the last 5 years. We'll see what ends up happening. But hopefully we can find some winners this weekend. And guys, we'll be back next week, same time. And I feel like the Wednesday kind of shift for us has been good, closer to the playoffs, because we'll let the numbers settle in a little bit and get you guys our opinions and our thoughts. So if you enjoy the videos, hit the like button. We appreciate it on YouTube, Wager Talk TV, and you can follow Bobby on X and myself as well. We'll tweet out all kinds of thoughts, whether it's pregame, in-game, or just overall thoughts on these teams. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.